All right, guys, thank you. So today we would be going through a couple of things. Um, but before I start with anything, I want to just quickly recap what we did yesterday. So in yesterday's session, we understood how the Quick Lab platform enables you guys with a temporary username and password to access the Google Cloud platform, using which you guys were able to uh, do a couple of activities in the Google Cloud platform. One of such activity was to create a virtual machine. You guys were able to create a virtual machine, and you guys installed a Nginx web server into it. So hope you guys remember that you guys created a virtual machine in two ways. One, using the Google Cloud Console, using the values that they provided to you guys as a step-by-step process, which is pretty much like buying a computer and then just turning it on, installing the operating system, and then using the command. You guys were able to install an Nginx web server, and the commands are pretty simple and straightforward. And once you install the web server, you guys were able to update the web server as well. And upon updating, you took the external IP address, and using the external IP address, you guys were able to look at the default landing page of the web server in your virtual machine. So it's pretty straightforward what you did yesterday, right? Like you guys bought a computer, you installed an operating system into it, which was a Debian OS, and then you guys installed a web server. You accessed that web server using an external IP address. You guys also created another instance, but this time you guys did not create it using the console option. Rather, you simply created using a single command that pretty much created another virtual machine as well. So the learning that we had yesterday was a virtual machine could be created using the Google Cloud Console using your mouse clicks, or you can create it using a command line as well. So those are the two ways of creating a virtual machine. So the scenarios in which you will use a console versus a console would be if you guys are creating, say, fewer number of virtual machines, you can go ahead and just create it using the console option. Whereas if you had to create, let's say, 50 servers, the best and efficient way is to create all 50 servers using a simple command line, right? So that was the learning yesterday. And in today's session, what I would be doing is, I'll show you how do you install or how do you spin your Windows virtual machine. And once you spin your Windows virtual machine, how do you remote into it, right? Like using your remote desktop connection. How do I access my Windows machine? So for that, we will take a Windows server, we'll spin a Windows server machine in the Google Cloud platform, and we will see how do we remote into it. So that would be the first session for today. While I do it, you guys have two options. One, you can start doing it, or due to time limitation, you guys can just follow through. And after the session is completed, you guys can do it at your own pace as well. And if you guys have any questions, in the chat, you will find the link in which you can ask your questions. So we'll continue to monitor that support document. So at any point, if you're stuck at anywhere, do not worry about it. We'll have some support given to you guys through the chat as well. So please make sure that you guys are using the chat option. There would be a link that would be posted to you guys, which is pretty much the same link. And there you go, right? So thank you, Anna. So Anna just posted the support document link for you all. So if you have any questions at any given point of time, just go ahead and add your questions, and we'll be able to get back to you shortly. All right. So no need to worry about it, and you don't have to complete it right now itself, because since you have activated the code yesterday, you guys should be able to start with these labs. So let me start with this lab. And as I told you before, as a best practice, before I start the lab, what I usually do is I try to go through as a high level, understand what this lab is all about, so that when I start doing the lab, I don't lose the time and I do things after I have understood it, right? So what are the steps in this lab? The steps in this labs are pretty simple. Okay, all they are going to tell me is the first half of the lab is mostly the same steps, right? Click on the start button, you'll get a temporary username and password. Yes, we have done that. And then using which you will log in into this account, Google Cloud Platform account. You will go to the navigation menu. Under the compute engine, you will go to VM instances, which is virtual machine instances. You will click on create. So remember, you can always create it two ways. One using console, one using the command line. In this particular lab, I'll be using the console option because it's just one virtual machine. I'm comfortable doing that. The important thing is in this particular lab today, we are going to change the boot disk into a Windows server machine. So by default, anytime you create a virtual machine, it's going to default to Debian OS. Debian is another operating system under open source. So it's just like Linux, Debian, Red Hat. These are different versions of different flavors of open source software. So for today's lab, since I need to spin up Windows machine, all I will be doing is change the boot disk to Windows Server. And pretty much they have given you a screenshot of the values. So make sure the name is exactly the same because they might be validating if you're spinning up the same server name. So they've given you a clear picture about how do you spin a Windows Server machine. And the important thing is you need to allow default access to this. So that's an important value. And then create it. Once I create a Windows machine, I will be able to check the progress of completion. And right after, I will invoke the Cloud Shell. And you guys at this point are very comfortable on how do I invoke Cloud Shell. So once I invoke the Cloud Shell, there is a bunch of commands that I need to use. And these are optional commands at this point, right? It's always a good practice to confirm that you are using the right account, you are in the right project, things like that. But the most important step is to ensure that your Windows virtual machine that you just spinning up is allowing anyone to remote into it. When I say anyone, it's the authenticated user who has the username and password. So you need to enable the ports so that the RDP connection can be established within that computer. So that's the command here. It's a very important command for you to enable the remote desktop connection. Once I'm done with that, the connection is allowed. So I just have to set the Windows password for the instance, and I'll show you how do we do that. It's pretty simple. And then we'll be just remoting into it using a Chrome extension. And preferably use Google Chrome on this particular lab, or you can have other ways of remote desktoping into this. For Windows, you guys can use the command mstsc remote desktop connection simply. But in Linux, there might be different versions. Mac users can have different options. So let me quickly start the lab. And if you're able to start with me, that's fine as well. But the intention is for me to do it and show you how it works. And then you guys can do it on your own pace, either now or right after this session as well. So either way works. So I just clicked on the Start Lab. And as you guys know, when I click on the Start Lab, the first thing that's going to happen is the Quick Labs will provision me with the username and password and a unique project ID, using which I'm going to log in. Again, no recovery phone or email. And I'm not going to go through the same page again because I remember what I just, what we just walked through, right? So the first thing that you will do after logging into the Google Cloud Platform is you'll click on the navigation menu. Under the compute engine, the first option is virtual machine instances. And I'll click on the create. All right. And just to make sure the values are the same. Okay. So it's instance -1 US Central A, 1 virtual CPU, and it should be Windows Server 2012 and allow default access. Okay. So US Central. one virtual CPU, and make sure to change that. So this is the boot disk that we just saw, right? And today we are trying to spin a Windows server. So I'm going to click on the operating system and first choose Windows Server. Remember, under the operating system, you need to choose Windows Server. And now under the version, choose Windows Server 2012 R2 Data Center. So make sure you're choosing the right one. It's not the data center core, it's the data center itself. And leave the standard persistent disk and 50 GB as is. Click on select. Allow default access. And I usually have a tendency to allow HTTP traffic, but in this case, you really don't have to, because you're not going to use the HTTP, rather you're going to remote desktop into it. And once you click on create, you will see that your virtual machine is spinning up. And the way you know that your virtual machine has been provisioned successfully is when you see a green check mark beside your virtual machine, and you can see if I mouse over, it says now the instance is running. Great. Now, yesterday we were doing a SSH connection, right? You were using secured shell. There was an option here to say SSH, but today we are doing an RDP connection. So all you have to do is click on RDP under the connect, click on RDP. If you click on the RDP, it would give you an option to say install Chrome RDP extension. So if you're the first time user, if you cannot access it, you should be able to access it here. Since I'm using a new incognito window, I might not be able to add this. So let's first make sure that we have created the virtual machine. And for this particular lab, even before you create the virtual machine, it would say 100 out of 100. Doesn't mean that you have completed. You are half there. So before I start doing an RDP, let's make sure that we are opening the port, right? And if you do not open the port, you will not be able to RDP into it. And also, like as a best practice, always try to click on open in a new window by clicking on the right arrow, the bottom arrow on the right side, so that you get a full screen of your Cloud Shell command. And remember the error that I was getting, that's because I have not enabled the port for the RDP. Now, there are a bunch of commands. These are optional commands. You do not really have to execute these commands, but it helps you to ensure that you are using the actual student account and the correct project, and not by mistake you have used your own personal account. There you go. So the project ID and the student ID is verified. Now I need to check if the RDP port is enabled. And they recommend you to use this command a bunch of times, unless just to make sure that you have invoked it correctly. All right, now let me see if I can do the RDP. So now if I have to do RDP, I need two things. One, I need the IP address of my Windows Server machine, which I just created, which is available to me. Then I need a username and a password for the Windows machine that I just created, right? For the instance one. So the instance one is nothing but your Windows machine. So the first thing is set up a password for this. So what you just have to go under the RDP, say set Windows password. So when you click on set Windows password, you're going to get a username. Copy this username in a notepad file. The username, and then click on set. So when you click on set, it's setting this as a username in that particular computer, and then it will also give you a default password. So I'm just going to copy the password as well. Once I copy the password, close. So just to show you guys, under this RDP connection, you can click on set Windows password. The first step is you will get a username. Copy the username, put it in a notepad file, and then click on set. When you click on set, it will also generate a password. So both steps are now done. Now let's try to RDP into this computer. So there are a couple of ways to RDP, right? So right now I'm using the default Windows RDP. You can either use the connect button on the RDP, or you can simply download the RDP file. The benefit of downloading the RDP file is it's nothing but a normal Windows RDP, right? It just gives you so it's the same thing as you get in MSTSC. So this is nothing but what you are getting here. But by default, when you download it from here, it sets the username on that directly. So you see, I don't have to enter the username, and I'm just pasting the password here, and then click on connect, and then click on yes. And at this point, can you please confirm on the chat if you're able to see the new virtual machine which I just created, and I've been able to log into that in the remote. Are you guys able to see that on the screen as well? Okay, so you guys are able to see the new server that we just created, not just my personal computer, right? Got it. Thank you guys. Perfect. Okay, so now here, as you see, because we installed a Windows server in this virtual machine that you just created, it's a server, right? So it's a server that I just created. So by default, you have a server manager. So you can just go ahead and manage your server here and configure it. And they give you all those roles and server groups here. So without going into the details at this point, so the screen that you're seeing is nothing but your Windows server that you just created in the Google Cloud platform. Now, you can create not just a Windows server, you can create a simple Windows machine on the cloud, and you can access it from anywhere from the world just using a simple remote desktop connection, right? I don't have to carry my computer always, but yeah, you will use a browser from anywhere. So you can just think about the potential this gives you, where I can spin up Windows server within a couple of minutes, and then I can have it configured as well. So that's pretty much the end of this lab. I'm going to just exit out of this machine, close my Cloud Shell as well. Now let's pause here and go back to the actual Quick Labs and see I have still 28 minutes left. And let me see if there's anything else that we need to do. Okay, we have done the remote desktop connection. And remember, here they're using the Google Chrome extension. You can use the Google Chrome extension as well, or you can use a remote desktop connection tool that comes by default with Windows, or you can simply download the RDP from the Google Cloud platform itself. There are multiple ways you can achieve this. No, there's just two questions. We can create a Windows instance in Google Cloud by changing its what? So anybody would like to give an answer for this? So boot disk, perfect, right? So by changing the boot disk, I can simply start a Windows instance in Google Cloud. Great. So the next question is, which command is used to check whether the server is ready for an RDP connection or not? And this is pretty much the command that we just used, and it's a straightforward answer, right? Get set, get serial port output. So that's the command that we used. And that's pretty much the end of this particular lab. So in this lab, what you learned, just to quickly summarize, you guys created a Google Cloud platform. Using the Google Cloud platform, you just created a Windows Server machine. So how do I create it? I just simply have to change the boot disk. Once I change the boot disk, I launch it, and then you need to enable the RDP connection port. You check the port. If it's enabled, then you can just have multiple ways of logging into it, and you can quickly spin any Windows Server machine like that, right? So that's pretty much the lab is, and my score says 100 out of 100. Now I'll simply go ahead and click on End Lab. And remember, you need to make sure that once you complete this lab, there's a green check mark that's created on this. So because this is an optional lab, you will find a green check mark right in here. So that's pretty much the lab for spinning a virtual machine and installing, spinning a Windows Server machine. So let me pause here for a minute. All right. So now the next lab is Cloud Shell and G Cloud. Again, this is nothing but they're just going to show you how do I create or how do I use different command line tools. So before I start this lab, and this is a pretty quick lab, right? So okay, so I'm going to start this lab, and I hope the previous lab was comprehensive. You guys were able to follow through. If you guys are stuck with some errors or anything, if you're a Mac user, the way you remote might be a little different. Unless you are using the Google Chrome extension, you can follow through the steps. If you're stuck somewhere, do not worry about it. Simply put it on the support document that was shared by Anna in the group chat, and you guys should be able to resolve it. Like, we'll make sure that you guys are completing it, right? So I'm just moving over the Cloud Shell command as well. Okay, so at this point, I'm not going to spend a lot of my time here, right? Because you guys know what you need to do. Just click on Open Google Console, close the previous sessions, and use the new username and the password. Always make sure to close the previous session so that by mistake you're not just working on the previous credentials, right? So I'm using the latest username and password. All right. So once I've successfully logged in, I'm going to invoke the Cloud Shell. In this particular lab, they are going to teach you different commands that you should be using. All right, so I just logged in, and you need to activate the Cloud Shell by clicking on this arrow, click on Continue, open in a new window so that you get a full screen of the Cloud Shell. It's connected. Now, to set your cloud platform project in this session, use gcloud config set project ID. So I'll copy this command, put it in a notepad here. So you need to set the project ID manually just to make sure that you are on the right project. So where do I find my project ID? My project ID is in my Quick Labs. It's right over here. Copy this and replace this with this. So you guys should, I think, are comfortable understanding about a variable, right? You're passing the value directly in this command. So the command is given to you guys here. All you need to do is copy this command, gcloud space config space set project, and pass the value project ID, and you get the project ID from the Quick Labs. Now copy the entire command and go back to your Cloud Shell, paste it and hit enter. So now you can see that it says updated property. So you have set the project ID in which you're going to work, and you can also see that you are now under this particular project ID. So you are under the student account that was given to you, and then you are under the correct project ID. So how do I verify that? You can also click on the drop down and make sure that you have chosen EA3, which is my project ID. In your case, it might be different. So make sure, there's two ways to do it. One, you can use the command or simply click on the drop down and set the project ID in which you are going to work. So the next step is they are going to set some environment variables. They are talking about gcloud and what is a gcloud and all that. So yesterday we know that gcloud is a command line utility that works on Google Cloud Platform. So you can simply Google gcloud. You will find a bunch of article about all possible commands that you can use with this. So now the first thing I'm going to do is make a couple of environment variables. So before I modify any variables here, I usually would go here and make sure that I'm updating my values here. And everywhere you find your project ID, make sure to replace that with your project ID from the Quick Labs, right? Wherever you see this project ID within the angle braces, make sure that you're replacing this with your actual project ID. So pretty much I'm creating variables, right? And you guys know what variables are and what an environment variables are. So simply, I just created a variable. I'm going to export my project ID into a variable called project ID. So project ID is my environment variable. The value is my actual project ID. I'm just storing that into my environment variable. So now the next step is for you guys to also create another environment variable called zone. Now, I don't know which zone I'm in. So to know which zone I'm in, you can simply uh, just give me 1 minute, guys. Zone कैसे check करना है? Okay, so you can set the zone or you can use the default zone. So while you're working, if your connection is lost for some reason, you will find an error message. The connection to your Google Cloud shell was lost. Those times, simply close your Google Cloud shell and go back and try to reconnect. Click on reconnect here. It should. Let me simply refresh the page. I'll copy the username and log in back again. Okay. So I'm back into the terminal. And let me connect to my Cloud Shell again. Okay, done. So two things. I'm just pasting this command for you guys, just so that you guys can use the same. Yeah, I got the same error as well, that the Cloud Shell was temporarily unavailable, and that's why there was a hiccup. So simply just reconnect it with the same username and password. Just log in again. You should be able to do it. So when if you're running into the error, Cloud Shell is temporarily unavailable, simply log out, log in back, but use the same username and password that Quick Labs provides you. All right. Okay. So now going back and resuming where we were setting up the environment variables. And the environment, the zone I've set is Asia-East 1-B. Now, let's see if the values are set. Okay. So here you can see that the zone does not give render a value. The project ID is setting a value. The zone is not, because I need to set the value for the zone. Now, I know how do I set the value for the zone. Is pretty simple. Export space zone, and then the zone name, Asia-East 1-B. Let me set the value to the variable. And now let me echo zone. So now I can see the zone. Just to be clear, all I have done is two things. One, I've set the project ID and I've set the zone, and then I'm just echoing back to check if the values are set properly. And I'm going to ping both these steps to you guys, so you guys are pretty clear with what I just did, right? So I'm just pasting these two commands. But make sure that it's your project ID that you guys would be using, not the one that I'm entering here, right? So use this. So I just pinged you all of you guys. So export project ID equal to your project ID. Remove the angle brackets and make sure to replace this with your project ID. And the second one is export the zone value. And once you're done setting these two variables, you guys can simply use the echo command to check if the values are set. So in my case, I have now, I'm just quickly checking once again, just to show you guys. I can see that my zone is set. I can see my project is set. Now, just to clear the screen, just type clear, your screen will be cleared. Now, create a virtual machine with G Cloud. So they're using a command line. and showing you how to create your virtual machine. And in this, you can see it's compute instance, create, name of the instance, the machine type is N1 standard, and the zone. The zone, they're passing the environment variable. So remember, by default, it's going to be a Debian OS. So hit enter. Once you hit enter, in the background, it's already spinning up a new virtual machine for you guys. So now, once it's successfully created, you can see that created using an API, it has created an instance called virtual machine called GCE Lab 2 in the zone Asia East 1. And the status is running, and you have the internal IP address and the external IP address as well. Now, I'm also going to click on Compute Engine virtual machine instances to check the same here, right? So you guys can now see the virtual machine. It's an internal IP, external IP address, and you guys can do an SSH into it. I'm just going to simply click into this virtual machine. And you can always check the configuration of this machine is by default, it's always a Debian OS. So the question that you guys should remember is that default virtual machine in a Google Cloud platform is always a Debian machine. And if you have to check the values, you can always just click onto the virtual machine to understand what operating system it is, what is the configuration, and all of the details, right? So that's pretty much on how to create a virtual machine. Now click on check my progress. It's completed. It's a green check mark, and the score is 100 out of 100. Now they're giving you a couple of other command lines to help you understand how to check different commands. So just like in Windows command, you know, the help commands. So just like that in Google Cloud, you use gcloud-h. So that should give you a list of all the Google Cloud command lines that you can use along with that. So gcloud config h will give you all the commands that you can use with config values. And you can see there's a bunch of commands here. All of this is like for the configuration setups. And then you can always use Google Cloud config list, how the properties are set up using config list all. And if you want to list all your components, you can simply say this command, components list. That pretty much it. And they're also talking about how to turn on the auto completion. So you know what is an auto completion. If you're using a Windows batch command, if you're typing half the command, and if you simply use tab on your keyboard, it would auto complete that particular command for you guys. So that's exactly what they're talking about as well. And then the next half of this is simply showing you how do you SSH into your virtual machine. Always remember, SSH is here, and Cloud Shell is here. So you activate a Cloud Shell by clicking on this, whereas you SSH into a virtual machine in particular by clicking on here. Both are different. It's not the same. Because we see the black windows, we should not get carried away thinking it's the same. So if they talk about SSH, you go into a virtual machine, you choose an SSH for that particular virtual machine. But if they're talking about creating a virtual machine, then you go into the Cloud Shell, activate it, and then you create it from there. And it's basically they're telling you how do you navigate into a particular virtual machine that you just created. So it's all basic commands like cd change directory commands, right? And then if you have to open the configuration file, you can use the command like vi edit. So vi nano, all of these are editors using which you can simply open the command files, the configuration files. Now let's go through the understanding. 3 basic ways to interact with Google Cloud Services resources. On the chat, let me see if anybody is able to get the answers. I can also see Anup has completed it. Great, Anup. Congrats. 3 basic ways to interact with Google Cloud Services. I'm pretty much sure at this point that I can interact using Google Cloud Console. I can interact using the command line interface. So what's the third one? GStreamer. No, Cloud Console, command line interface, and I think it's glib. No, command line interface, Cloud Console, and client libraries. Okay, so these are the three ways. I think client libraries is the SDKs, right? You can always install a client library inside, and you can access the Google Cloud Platform as well. So these are the three basic ways. Perfect, Mary. So that's the end of this lab. So in this lab today, you guys have completed two things, right? One, you guys were able to spin a virtual machine, Windows Server virtual machine, and we did a remote desktop connection into it to understand how do I connect to it. Once you connect it, you can do anything with the Windows Server machines, right? And we also saw how do I use more Cloud Shell commands to create virtual machines. So that's pretty much the end of this lab. All right. So I'm going to give you guys a 5 minutes quick bio break. So if you guys want to grab some water, use this time to use it as a bio break. So 5 minutes break for you guys, and we'll resume right after. Thank you, guys.
Hello, folks. Hi, this is Vimal here. Very good morning. Hope you had some good learnings so far. Nice to catch up with you guys today again. And I will be covering the last segment of this session. Before I proceed further, I would like to know if I'm audible, if my pace is right. So you can just let me know by saying yes if you are back from your bio break, if you are back from your uh, break whatsoever. Perfect. So I will try to keep this pace, and you can always let me know if I need to speed up or slow down. Idea is not that we are working a very concise model of delivering our session, which is typically a full day session, and we are trying to put in together certain element which we find would be useful to you in a 2 hour session. So at times we may have to rush it through. At times we want to take a pause and want to explain earlier, but overall idea is that we make you understand how to make use of this platform. And this is not the first and the last time we are doing it. We would be keep on doing such session again and again. And every one of you who have connected to us via neural hacks or directly to us, you will get those opportunities in future as well. So it's perfectly all right if you don't understand it all, if you don't get it all, if you miss out something, that is perfectly all right, because we will do it multiple times, and you will have more than one ways to learn it, which we will be talking. Okay, so let's go to the next segment, and I will try to keep that balance between how much we need to explain you to understand it and how much you can do it on your own, while we make sure that we finish on time, because you will have other sessions as well to attend. All right. So at this point, I guess you all can see our GDG Cloud Marathon banner screen. All right. So yeah. All right. So far, what have we learned? Did we learn to copy and paste? How many think we have learned so far to copy and paste? Control C, Control V. And how you think this entire idea of session is about using these two commands? Well, the session was not about Control C and Control V. It was not about copying the command that's given. It was not about pasting that and executing that and getting a result. It was more about understanding how this cloud framework works. You have the user manual in terms of your Quick Labs, and you have your Google Cloud platform. Initially, when you are onboarded, when you are brought to this platform, we generally the training is designed in a way that you get everything ready. You get your code, you don't have to remember it and type it off your own. So everything has been taken care so that you focus on the idea and the concept, and do not worry about the syntax or remembering it or typing it. So that's the reason it was that way. But eventually, when you will progress on the labs, you will not find it is the same case. You will need to change the code, you will need to apply some logic, you will need to you can't just like that copy something and you can do that. You won't be able to do it for long. Even the labs in future, the advanced lab, it will not allow you to do that. But yeah, for beginners, everything has been provided so that it makes your life easier. Precisely what our intention was from these labs was to make you understand this all. This should be the key learning. Are you familiar with QuickLab training platform? You can go to quicklab.com. Can you browse through the different training program? Do you understand what is a lab? Do you understand what is a quest? Do you understand what is a timer? Do you understand what is a score? Do you understand what is the project ID? Do you understand what is your login user ID and passwords and how to make use of it? Do you understand what is lab? Do you understand what is a subscription in a quick lab platform? These are the basic things like every one of you should by now be familiar with. If you're not familiar, still it's not a big deal, because we would be keep on repeating these sessions in future, and you can always join with us and you can take it further. Some of you may be slow paced learners, some of you may grab it faster. So we do not expect that each one of you would be knowing everything at the same time. Another key learning is understanding of the Google Cloud platform. Like how the UI looks like, how the navigation pane is, what are the different options, how do we invoke the Cloud Shell, what is the use of Cloud Shell, what is command line interface, what is your navigation bar. So these are all basic things. Like what we saw today, what we have worked on it is the actual Google platform, though it comes with certain limitation as part of the training because we are using these resources which costs a lot of money, but since it has been designed for training purpose, you are provisioned with some resources which is being shared by all of us right now. That's the only difference. Otherwise, it's not an emulator, it's not a dummy platform. It's the actual Google Cloud platform, and other cloud platforms like AWS and Azure will also look similar. The basic core components are same. You have also seen and may have learned about creating a Linux machine using console. That was the Debian machine. Then a Windows machine, you did the RDP. And these are small keywords like RDP and SSH. You should get the flavor of it and start understanding the meaning. Creating a virtual machine using Cloud Shell, that is our CLI, command line interface. Once you have understood this all, one challenge that we generally have in our virtual sessions is while we are speaking, until unless you have got two laptops or until unless you have got two monitors, it's difficult to catch up. It's difficult to do it while you are listening. You want to listen to us on the same screen while you want to do it. This is a bit difficult. While if we are in a classroom environment, we can see at the see the presenter, we can see the projector screen, and then we can work on our laptop at the same time. So there it becomes a bit more efficient in terms of a parallel work process. That's why in virtual sessions, generally we have to extend the timeline so that we explain the lab to you, and then you take your time to do and complete the lab. Then we move to the other segment. So that is usually how we plan our sessions. This is an introductory session as part of Neural Hacks set of events. So we are not able to do it in that extensive way, but idea is still same, that once we will complete explaining it to you, you get a flavor of it. You have the training manual, you have all the necessary codes ready, you have the step-by-step process mentioned in the quick lab. You do not necessarily need us to tell how to make use of it. We are just here to facilitate and guide you in case if you are facing any issues. And our support sheet will still stay open even after the session, so you can always post your questions if you have any. All right, let's move further. This was a quick recap of what we have done so far, and now we will move to the next segment, like what we plan, and this last segment for the day. All right, machine learning. We try to incorporate a little flavor of machine learning. And what does it mean? Many of you may have worked around this. Many of you may have just heard the name about it. So let's try to visualize for a few seconds, like for the next 30 seconds, what does a machine learning potentially mean? And if you want to learn machine learning, let's also think about how a human learning works. Like if you see, let's begin from that we already know, like your own brain. What does your brain does? It does see things, it does feel things, it can listen to a voice, it can imagine, it can be creative, it can correlate things. These are the different things your brain can do. Let's see how a brain reacts when it looks at an image. If you have a photograph in front of you, what happens to your brain? What do you see in that? So let's do a quick activity here. I will post this link, and let's go to this page. I posted this link, and it will bring you to this page. Let me know if you are able to join. Good. So we will do just a quick activity to understand how our own brain works. How do we do, before even going to start understanding how a machine should ideally work? Do we even understand how our brain looks at things in different perspectives? We'll wait for a few more seconds for more folks to join. Good. So what we are here right now, we are having a common blackboard or whiteboard in front of us. We all can make use of it at the same time. And what you see is an image here. And as a human brain, if we have to detect level, faces, landmarks in front of us, how do we do that? So we have an option here. Wait, I may not be sharing the same screen. Let me share the same screen. Uh, yeah, okay. Probably now you can see the screen which I was talking about. Okay, so folks who have not joined, please join the link that is provided. We are going to do a small quick activity for another 5 minutes to give you a flavor of how a human brain thinks, and then we will see how a machine learning brain will think. Okay. So usually when we do such activities, we trust you all that you will be sincere in the activity. We do not put a login, so that you only. I mean, we make it anonymous. Anybody can join and anybody can do anything on it. We can also restrict this kind of activities by asking an Gmail login, so that we know who is doing what. We do not do so because so far we have good experience around doing this session without any hiccups. So please maintain the sanity of the activity, so that we are not forced to apply a forced login, so that we know who is doing what. All right, going ahead on this activity, we have here some segment like putting the sticky notes. What I want you guys to do is click on this, and it will give you here. So whatever you see in the image, say for example, I see Trump. My brain says this person is Trump. I just put his name over here. So similarly, I want you guys to look at this image and type whatever you see here. You can always click on the sticky notes and you can type here whatever you feel that you see. I just want to see what a human brain can detect. So you can just put this sticky notes, put it anywhere. So don't put it on the same thing. Yeah. So when you put it, it may reapply on the same. I will move it separately. So yeah, I can see. Yeah. So you can do this. We will do this for like, and you all seem to be doing the same thing. That's perfectly all right. If multiple people are writing the same names, we will that will know that okay, that is how you are noticing it. Good, very good. We will do this activity for another 5 minutes. We are just trying to exercise how a human brain interprets an image before trying to understand how a machine learning will interpret an image. And some of you can help me, arrange this into different orders. Right now, I am arranging it. Some of you can help me arrange this. All right, folks. So I can very well see that you got the idea here. What we were trying to do. We have one image, and we were trying to use our own brain, and we were trying to look from different perspective. When you started with this activity, probably you did not think that we will notice this many different objects. Many of us may not think that we will notice that the tie that this person is wearing is yellow in color as an object, because we tend to see certain thing in totality. Further, our brain break down those images into different items. So many smaller things I can see: the suit, the marble, the grass, the DD national logo, very important notice, flowers, dress, sky, tie. Apparently when we see this, we may see Taj Mahal, Trump, and Trump's wife, Melania Trump, and that is pretty much will attract our eyes, and then we will go to the granular level, and we can get into as much detail as we want. We will also notice that we have a level here, and that's written in English language because we identify that. Now, this particular exercise was simpler even for human brains. I typically chose this image because we have a lot of Indian audience who may identify Taj Mahal, but probably if it was some other building somewhere in other country, it would be difficult for us to identify. Now, if machine learning has to do the same thing, what we see here right now, what it should do now, at least we know we have a use case in front of us to understand what we want from our machine learning. If humans can do this, if humans can identify these all items, can machines can also identify similar information. So we now have an objective to meet. So we want to design a machine learning module, or we want to design something which can do exactly what we are doing right now. We can do more probably. We have just taken 4 or 5 minutes, and we have been able to find out these many items from one single image. Uh, uh, we would like to know what a machine can do. If a machine is given an image to analyze, can it find out this many elements? Can it find out this many things? Okay, so let's start with this activity now. We got an idea what we were trying to do. We were trying to extract information from an image, and we have took out a lot of information. We can still take out a lot of other information. So let's get back to our presentation. All right. All right. So let's come back to our presentation here. So uh, we are talking about machine learning now, and prior doing that, we spoke a little bit about how a human brain will work, and particularly our today's topic is to detect images and find out information from that. But what is machine learning? It is a training software program with examples. It's about training a software program with examples, experiment, or experiences, so that it can recognize pattern, make prediction, and complete tasks. Now, if you just remove machine learning here with human learning, still the definition sounds similar. If I talk that what is human learning, and if I say training a human brain with examples, experiment, or experiences so that it can recognize pattern, make prediction, and complete tasks, I guess the definition would still be right. So whether we talk about machine learning or we talk about human learning, the very idea is about learning with experiment, exercises, recognizing patterns, making prediction, and completing certain tasks. So pretty much our machine learning and human learning has to go hand in hand. Whatever is the process for human learning, we have to apply the same process for machine learning. Now, what are the different kind of machine learning? There are many divisions and subdivisions for machine learning. We can call it like a supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning, semi-supervised learning, reinforced learning. Every kind of machine learning has a different way of approaching it. But particularly, our focus area is on supervised learning here. Now it's same as human learning. The moment you start growing up, you start going to school, you get a supervision from your parents, from your teacher, from your society. You keep learning continuously. Everybody keeps telling you, do this, this is right, this is wrong, this is that. And you keep grasping that information for quite, I will not say for a certain time, for throughout your life, you keep learning that. That's the degree of supervised learning. Apart from that supervised learning, you also learn few things out of your own experience and your own feelings. Nobody is telling you that. You are just feeling that way, and you learn certain thing. You get some perception, you get some concept and idea, and many a times those are very strong concepts and ideas. That is unsupervised learning. We are not talking about unsupervised learning today in today's session, but you can correlate and understand what a supervised learning would look like. What are the basic steps involved? And one important step is missing here, and I will talk about that. First of all, in order to perform any human learning or machine learning, we need to get data. We need to have, you were able to identify a tree in that image because you knew something like a tree exists and how does it look like. You were able to identify a suit because you had that data, that how a suit should look like. So you need to have a lot of data. You will out of the image you saw a lot of information, but you filtered out many of them as not important, and then you cleaned and prepared the and manipulated the data. After that, you will train a model. However, one step that is missing here is, if you have to train a model, you need to create a model. And model is nothing but a structure that will work on your behalf and bring you results. Let's assume there is already an existing model. You need to train it with your data. Like if you are the subject right now as a human, if you are the one who are gonna do a prediction, I need to give you data. I need to clear out what is important data, what is not important data. Then I need to give you a way of thinking, so that is like training your mind that that is how we interpret things, and then testing it. In every school, every class, we do a test after your class semester is over, just to know whether you have grasped it right, have you learned it right, and then to improve it. And we have an improvement plan. Pretty much, if you remove this machine learning thing with human learning, the way we approach these learnings, whether it be a machine or whether it be human, are pretty much same. So if you have to say in like few words, what is a machine learning? It's all about making sense from data. If you have a lot of information, if you can pull out some meaning out of it, that is machine learning. Now, when we are talking about machine learning, when we want to actually exercise it from tech point of view, from software developer point of view, or from somebody who is from IT, we need to know some basic things like JSON, that is JavaScript object notation. It is a lightweight data interchangeable format. It's easy for humans to read and write. It is easy for machine to parse and generate. Curl is a command line used to transfer data to or from a server, whether it be HTTP, FTP, IMAP, POP3, HTTP, whatever it could be. When you have to do this cross-platform data transfer, curl is a good command to use. It is a command line tool to transfer data. It is designed to work without user interaction. It can support multiple files at once. And when we do API, and we will talk about API in coming slides, are normally written with reference to curl. Bash is another name. If you do not know these names, it's perfectly all right. Right now, I'm just trying to make you familiar with this term so that when you see it in the lab or in coming days, you don't get surprised what is bash. It's just an interactive command line interpreter or a shell, just like you used Google shell right now. PIP. Whenever you use certain want to do something, you need to have some installation package. Particularly when it comes to Python, you have a Python package index, which we also called PYPI, and PIP command helps you install and manage that software package. So you always want the most updated software package to be installed. You use PIP commands. Sudo is nothing but super do. Super do is more like run it like an administrator. On Windows, you must have seen this many a times. When you install a software, it is mandatory for you to run it like an administrator, because admin has got right. And super do is the same thing. When particularly we are using a Linux or a similar environment, we use sudo. There's another command called apt-get. It means download from default repository or app store provided by Linux. So on a Linux machine, if you have to install a package, you will use apt-get command. API, application programming interface. I will not get into the formal definition of it, but to make you understand, if I develop something which can be reused by many other programs or many other functions, rather than coding the same thing again and again, I can create it like an object, a function, and it can be called via API. We call it an API call. We will see how in further things. So when we have an API, there's a key. Like if I write a code and it has to be called by another code, another piece of software, there has to be some handshaking over there. There has to be some kind of validation. So that is where an API key is generated, which gives validation and authorization to use the API. So API key is the code that gets passed by a computer application, can act as a secret authentication token as well as a unique identifier. It helps to assist in monitoring how the interface is being used. Say, for example, if I have an API and if your software want to interact with it, how will I know that it's your software and where it is going? N number of other softwares may request for the same API at same point of time or different point of time. There is a need of authorization. There is a need of a unique identifier as well. So this is basically an authentication token which identifies a user. When it identifies, kind of it also validates it. There are many types of API. One common API that will come into picture for you in coming labs is like REST API. It is a set of rules that allows programs to communicate with one another over HTTP. And REST means a representational state transfer. There is also a term called restless. Maybe you can Google out sometime, or in our future events, we'll talk about it. A developer creates an API on the server and allows a client to talk to it, usually exchange a JSON and XML document. So that is what REST API is used for. For today's session, this is not the most important API, but the most important API is Vision API. This API has been developed by Google to use in machine learning, particularly when we want to take an image and take out information from it the same way what we did in our activity right now. That is where this Vision API comes into picture. So what is the official definition? Google Vision API allows developers to easily integrate vision detection features within application, including image labeling, face and landmark detection, optical character recognition, and tagging of the explicit content, whatever way it is defined. So right now, when you saw that image, you were able to find out the image labeling, like you were able to find out the person involved, you were able to find out the building behind it. Probably you definitely got the idea which location it is, and then if you knew English, so you were able to identify what's written. If it was written in French or Spanish, probably you will need a translator. So this Vision API can do it all for you, right? It can translate in multiple languages. We will see how exactly it looks like. Okay, so let's begin. Now we will switch on directly to the labs, and I am also a bit cognizant about the time that we have. I will recommend you not to do parallelly because you won't be able to do it. Not all of you may have two screens and two laptops. So just watch me doing this. I will only stay and work on those areas which I feel is important to stay and discuss. Let me first post this so that you go to the lab directly. Sorry, I posted the wrong link. Give me a moment. I posted the previous link. Okay, this QuickLab link, and I will also show you how to find it from QuickLab platform. So this is the one I have given you the direct link. You can also, if you try to search machine learning with image processing, there will be a quest. In that quest, this is one of the labs. So we can't cover all the labs of the quest. I guess some of you may need to go on mute. There is a background noise. All right. So I hope you all are here on this page right now. Let me share my screen. And this time I'm sharing my entire screen. All right. Just tell me in chat if you are able to see lab, which says detect level faces and landmarks in images with the Cloud Vision API. Are you here at this point in time? Just say yes or no. Yeah, you can see it very well. So those who are not here yet, I will just still give you a few seconds to use the link that is provided in the chat to come to this page. This is the lab we will give you a walkthrough, and you can further do it. Now, if you see the name, it says detect levels, faces, and landmark in images with Cloud Vision API. And if you see the workshop that we did here, I made the topic like detect level, faces, and landmark in images with human eye. So what we did with a human eye using our human brain, let's see, can we do a similar activity using Cloud Vision API, which is a machine learning model in Google Cloud Platform. Since this model is already created by Google, you can call it and use it. You can call it via API and you can make use of it. If it was not created, I mean, somebody has to create it then. That means that was the important step I said in our machine learning flow, that you need data, you need to train the model, but before you train the model, you need to create it. So somebody has created this. Google has created Cloud Vision API. Similarly, the new models are getting created day by day. People are creating these new models, and at many times they allow it to be used by other folks or services, either as an API or as a subscription, or any other working model. All right. So as you got recognition in previous many sessions, that whenever you come to a lab, give yourself some time, read through the details so that you get a flavor of what we are going to do, and after that you start the lab. Right now, I will not recommend you to start the lab because we have like 30 minutes and you may not be able to do it parallelly while we are speaking. And by now you understand so many basic things, so I will not spend time in those things which has already been discussed. I will only take a step back and talk about those things where I feel that you may have some issues or problems, and talk about the actual machine learning activities here. All right. Okay, so let's see what we will learn. We will learn creating a Vision API request. We will learn creating a Vision API request, not model. Model is already there. Cloud Vision API is already there. We will learn how to create that request and calling the API with curl. Curl command is the same command we saw in the presentation now, and then using the level, face, and detection methods of the Vision API. What you will need: a Google Cloud project and a browser. You have the browser and you know how to get the Google Cloud project here. So in order to get the Google Cloud project, we have to start the lab. Now at this part, I assume that most of you, if not all, have the subscription by now, and you will use subscription. You will not launch with access code. We have not provided you any access code. So you won't be able to launch it with access code. You will need to use subscription. For those who do not see a subscription, at times you can see that you have 5 credits or 7 credits, and it will ask you to use it. However, this lab needs 7 credits. So until unless you have a subscription, you won't be able to use it. So those who were not able to apply the subscription, let us know in our support sheet document, so that eventually when we have a new code, we can provide it to you. We have a step-by-step document how to use and apply the code. If you are not able to apply the code, you can see there is a small chat button here. You can always do a chat. You can tell them that you have this code, you are not able to use it, and in department, like it will auto populate your name and email ID and department. You can say QClap general, and you can post that, okay, you have this code, you are not able to apply it, and they will revert back to you. So the code that we provide generally expires in 24 hours. The validity is 1 day. So the code that we provided yesterday might not work now. But if you have not yet received the code, not were able to apply, do let us know. We will see if we can provide you a new code. We can't promise we will provide you the code on the same day, but we keep doing these events, we keep getting this code from Google, and we will share it with you if you make that request. All right. Not spending much time on that. Further, I will go to Start Lab, use subscription. In our previous session and from today, even if you learn how to make use of this platform, I will see that as a success of the event, because you will be able to learn it further. You will be able to take it further from your own efforts. All right. So I've just started the lab, and then as I said, now when we start the lab, we have the project ID, we have the username and password. We will use this credential to go to the Google Cloud Platform and make use of the Google Cloud Platform resources. So we have the Google project ID, we have the browser already, we are using it. And needless to say, if you have any previous session open from Google Cloud Platform, you must close it. You must close the console, you must close the Cloud Shell, everything you must close it. And it's always recommended to open it in a incognito mode, just to avoid any interaction. When you are in an office environment, in an actual corporate environment, the all setup will be taken care by your VPN or your office configurations. But since you are using your personal laptops, you need to take care of certain things if needed. All right, so what are the setups and requirements? Basically, understanding about your project lab, this part, you already know it, you are always doing it, you will not spend some time here. For the login process, you know by now, this is the first navigation menu of your Google Cloud Platform. You all are familiar. I will do this while I start with Open Google Console, but I'm just showing you that these all items you already know, you have already done it. Till here, checking your active account whenever you get into the system. Right now, you will have only one active account because we are in a training model. If you work in a corporate, normally you may have more than one account, you may have more than one project, and that is why it's training you to check your projects, whether you are in right project or not. You don't want to create a virtual machine in a different project while you intended to create in a different project. So in a real world, you may need to check this every time you go into the cloud. So from here till here, you know it already. I don't need to explain. I will just open and walk through that quickly. Every time when I am going to the Google Cloud Console, Google Cloud Platform, I will use another account. The reason being, you may have your credit card associated, and everything is chargeable on Google Cloud Platform until unless you use this temporary ID. Okay, so we don't want you to get charged. We don't know whether any of your credit card is associated with Google account, and you use your personal account and you get charged on your personal money. So you need to take caution here. I have a tendency to pull this Windows out so that I can toggle using Alt Tab. So that's easier for me. So that is what I do. I come to this page, this browser, I pull it out in a separate window, and I further toggle it with my Alt tab. So it becomes very easy for me to go to different windows instead of going to a different tab using my mouse. No need to save this. Every time kind of you log in as a usual Gmail account. Since it is the first time we are using this training, it will ask you for accepting the terms and conditions. So by now you already know this is your Google platform. This is your navigation bar. It has a number of options here on the left side. You are already familiar of all these options. You might not know what is the content of it, but you know that okay, you have all the features and options available on the navigation menu. All right. So what I will do is asking for opening the Cloud Shell. This is the option to activate the Cloud Shell. You open the Cloud Shell from here, and you click on continue. Now, another thing that Ram already told you, this is the icon to open into a new window. So I generally prefer to go to a new window so that I get a full screen rather than, this screen is split into two parts. So if I click on that, it will take me to a new window where I can see it in full screen. As Ram also told you that sometimes we may confuse with black screen because similar screen is used for SSH when we create a Linux machine and we want to access it, and your Cloud Shell is also this black screen. So sometimes we get confused and we may type a code in a different screen. So for that, you have the settings, and you can actually change the color themes. You can make it light, dark. You can make it that way. So you can always make changes so that in your actual work environment you don't make any mistakes. I'm pretty comfortable with this black color. So I'll keep it dark. You can also choose any color of your choice. You can also change the font, the type, everything you can change it here. That is just an additional information for you. All right, so I will quickly run these commands. I don't have to explain this because by now this is for listing your account. And then you want to list your project. One thing that definitely you want to make sure is your project ID. Like the project ID ending with 54F, I can see this is 54F here, and this is the same project ID 54F here. It's very important to be in the same project ID because so many resources are provisioned to you, has been given to you against this project ID. So if you don't see the same project ID, you may get errors, you may see things working in an unexpected way. All right, moving further. Creation of an API key. We did speak in our presentation about the API key. So the Cloud Vision is created, but in order to access that, you need to have an authorization. You also need to have a unique identifier number. So you need to create an API key. How do you create an API key? We will go to our console, and in API and services, go to credentials. API and services is right at the top. Okay. And from there you go to credentials. You are in the subsection of credentials, and then you have to create credential here. If you scroll below, you will see this plus symbol, create credentials. At times they may just give you a symbol of plus, at times, and many. So whenever there is a symbol of plus, whichever area you are, it is about adding a new value to it. So click on that. We want to create an API key. Click on that, and this is a API key. So let me copy this. Let me open a new notepad, and let me save it in my screen. I saved this API key. Now this is a unique identifier. Now we have one key here, which is API key. Can I see it is the same one? AIZASYCQ. Yeah, so it is the same API key. Further, we may need to enable it. We use the API key. Now at this point you can see there are many other options other than API key. You have auth client ID, you have service account key. Every other item has a different meaning, but we are not covering, it's not part of scope of our today's session, but just to let you know. So we have already taken a copy of our API key. Now you can run the below Cloud Shell, replacing your API key so that we save it in our environment. So what I will do is, I can type it, I remember it, but if you want, you can copy and then replace this. Export API key equal to export API equal to this. So this was the API key I had copied, and this is the command which I am running. So basically I have exported it. That means I have brought it to the environment. Now let's upload an image to the cloud storage bucket. As part of the session, we didn't get an opportunity to tell you how a bucket works. we only briefly talked about in our first session that this is a kind of a storage. So you have some idea around it. Let's now create a bucket. Bucket is just like a folder as you do in your Windows. There's a difference that we only store objects here. So let's go to navigation menu, storage, and then create bucket. So in navigation menu, here I will click, then I will go to storage, this, go to browser, and there you get an option to create bucket. Okay, I don't need recommendation, create bucket. And let's see, generally it will give you a specific name with which you have to create, but in bucket it may not give you a name because bucket is a global value, so it cannot be a duplicate. So they cannot tell you what bucket name to be used. You have to use your own bucket name. So no two person can use the same bucket name. It's a global unique value. All right. So when you are creating a bucket, these are the information you have to fill. And now you may remember these terms like nearline, core line, regional, multi-regional, these options from our first presentation. So and other information will keep it as default. So only thing that we need to put here is our own bucket name. So what I will do is, first of all, I'll bring it down because I need more space to see. You can always customize your screen for your needs. And here I will put VIMAL, but I will make it like today's date. Today's date is like 09/08. So I know it is Vimal 09/08. So it's highly unlikely somebody else would be using it. And then, yeah, just create it. Let me keep all the values as default values. So I created this bucket here. Now further upload an image to your bucket. So download this image. I will download this image here. Save image as. Say for example, I have in downloads the ML folder. I will just download this image as. Let me see if it asks for a certain name as donuts.png. Remember to use the same name of the image because QuickLab is validating you, and it will only identify the image based on the name it has provided. If you technically there is no problem with whatever name you use, but QuickLab will not know that you have actually used the same image, so may not give you the score. So when you do it, try to use the same name. It was only bucket name where they cannot provide you because it has to be a unique name. So I right click on this, I save this image, save image as, and I put it as donuts.png, save. Now go to the bucket you created and upload the file, upload this donuts.png. So I am in this bucket, upload files. Again, I will go to this image, which I had downloaded just now. Now, just remember that when I gave you an image, you will able to find a lot of information around that. But when you see this image, how much information can you find? Like many of you may not identify this is a donut, right? So if I would have given it to any human, some of the folks in certain geography who knows this dish may know it, but not everybody in the world will know it. But Cloud API, let's see how much it knows about this image. Probably if you not have talked about the term donut, you will not know that this is actually a donut here. After that, we have to provide permission. Go to the edit permission in the 3 dots that you see here. Let me close this, loading notification. And if you don't find your permissions here, you can always go to the page where. So here is the thing. It may show you that when you go to the 3 dot, it will show you edit permission. But right now I see that there was no edit permission. Now the actual cloud environment settings may sometimes change. So what you need to do is you can always come on that, and there you will be able to see this edit permission. So if you don't see in those 3 dots which list on the most common used function changes, you can always come to the actual page by clicking on the PNG. I'm on the donor.png property, and you can see every information about that, where it is stored, the direct path, the URL, and you can edit permissions from here. Now this is what you get. So this is definitely, you keep in mind that if you do what QuickLab is saying, probably you will face some difficulty. Okay, so it's basically asking you to add an entry as public, all user as reader. That means we are making this image public for all users who can read it. That is what it reads. So we'll make add entry. I'll make this as, sorry, we'll make this as public, anybody in public. We'll make it all user and reader. Let's save this. All right, we have added public to internet. That means now it is accessible to anybody who want to access via the URL. Okay, coming further. Now we have saved it. Now create a API, Vision API request. So we have created a API already. We have created an API key. Sorry, we have not created an API. Vision API is provided to us by Google, and we have created an API key to make a call, to make a request. So let's make that request. So using the Cloud Shell editor. Now on the Cloud Shell, on the top, you can see this icon. Let's see where it is. You can see this option, right? Open editor. So this is the icon to open the editor. When you click on that, you get this. Now what it is asking us to do, or use your preferred command line editor, Nano, Vim, or Emacs. You can also make changes into a code by using these commands, like Nano space file name, Vim space file name, Emacs space file name. These are all things you can use to create a request.json file. Now it's asking you to copy this code. Let's create a new file and name it as request.json. So you get an option to edit here, and this is what the source code has been given. So even if you don't know coding, that is perfectly all right, because as long as you know that you can make use of that particular code which is provided to you. So when you have got this piece of code, it's asking you to replace the your bucket name with the name in your storage bucket. So I have created my own bucket. So this my bucket name, I have to change it to my own bucket name, because as I said, this is a unique name. Two people cannot have the same bucket name. Vimal, and I had given the date, that was 08. Was it 08? Does anybody remember what was my bucket name? Let me see here. My bucket name was 090820. 090820. Yeah, 090820. That was my bucket name. And now I can save it from there. Save it. Save the file. I have saved the file. Go below. So, so the only part that you need to take care of this code editor, which may be new for you. So now since I have saved it, call the Vision API with curl. Now what we are doing is curl content type request.json, where we have our code and we have used our image. And let's also try to read a little bit the code. What is what does this code is doing? It's basically making a request using that image and asking for level detection. Level detection is a type which is part of Cloud Vision API. So the moment it will run, it will go to the image and try to find out the level and detect and give you the result. So let me try to run this. Okay, let me put it across here. You can always customize your screen based on it. So while my code editor is still open, I have not closed it. So this is where we go. So can you see this description? Now, one thing that I may like to show you in settings, you have your show scroll bar, this option. So with this, you would be able to see scroll up and down. So with your arrow key or through your scroll bar, you can make use of it. So basically what you saw, the different thing it has found is like sugar, something which I don't know, like a human may not identify what's that. Some description is angel wings. So it's trying to identify the image, and it's trying to find out a lot of things. So one thing for sure that we as humans can identify, and this has identified that this particular image has got some sugar on it. And if you remember the image, yes, it has a sugar icing on it. So if you take it out into a file, you will be able to see all these things, like it has powdered sugar, it is a kind of food, it is a kind of pastry, it is a kind of dish. So every level related to this image, you are able to get it from Cloud Vision API by using the function called level detector. Now, where was that level detection? That was in your code. Okay, so you see, and it also shows you the score, like how much percentage there is a match, how much percentage is sure, like 0.73, 0.77, 0.79. So it's telling you how much percentage it's matching with the model, like 0.81, 0.94. It's pretty sure that it is a food. The Cloud API Vision is pretty sure that it is a food. All right, so this is here. Now second one is a web detection. Now can you see here this command? And now change the level detection to web detection in the same request.json. So right here, I will bring this code editor here. Instead of level, I will make it web. You can always copy paste, but I will prefer that you do changes by your own so that you understand what we are doing. I'll go to the file and I will save it. So earlier it was level detection. Now it is web detection. So let's see what kind of output we get here. And let me scroll it up again so that I get a better view. Okay, so let me copy the command again, because yeah, now you have to use this curl. We are using, remember, we are calling the same request.json using vision.googleapis.com, and we are passing the API key. And if you read it out, you will understand it in a much better way. So we are using the API key which we have saved. If you remember previously, we created the API key, we exported it to a level called API key. Now we are calling using curl what we are calling a request.json file. And what are we providing? We are providing vision.googleapis.com, and we are providing the API key. So this request will hit this vision.api with the API key, and we'll see what this JSON is asking. In our case right now, it's asking for web detection. Previously, we had the level detection. If I paste it here, sorry, I definitely copied the wrong thing, but no worries. Yeah, so this was our command, and let's see. So if you see this particular URLs that is provided here right now, you would be able to see the images similar to that one wherever that image was found. Now you understand how Google Lens works. When you click on an image, not to click on an image, when you focus on an image using a camera, Google Lens is able to find and search it for you. If you find something fallen on the road, you don't know what it is, you can use your Google Lens. You can open your camera and it will identify what it is. How does it identify? It uses Cloud Vision API, and this is how it works in the background. All right. I definitely recommend you to use a scroll bar in your Cloud Shell that I showed you from going to the settings so that you can always browse it through. Okay, and you can go to any of these files. Say, for example, I will go. I know that I am running out of time, but I definitely want to show you things which you will find interesting, and rest which you can't cover, you can always read it through. If I go to any of the detected, see, this is the image, right? So this image was found on internet somewhere and has been detected by Cloud Vision API. If I go to any others, like if I go to this image, like the same image has been used. Now, instead of that particular image, right now, if you upload your own image, you would be able to find where all your image has been used. That is how Google image search works. Now, this is not the same image. This is similar, but still it finds a similar image here. All right. So this we have done. Now what next? Dive into the response, starting with web entities. So this is telling you basically how the results will look like. These all images we have already seen. You may see that you will find these all images which are similar to the previous image. They are not the same image, but it looks similar. So with web detection, we were able to find out similar images. Instead of this particular image, if you upload your own image, it will try to find out similar images and kind of try to find out you yourself. And as I said, this is the same logic how Google Lens works. Now, if you see this image, right, if we save it as selfie.png, save image as, okay, rather let me not do that because you understand what needs to be done, but let me show you what is the purpose of, we use the previous image, it was just a food, it was just a donut, but in this image, if you run this way, are you able to tell which location it is? The one image which we practiced with as an activity was Taj Mahal. We know it is in Agra in India, but many of us may not know where it is. But Google Vision API will identify it. It will also identify some of the faces. It may also identify the latitude and longitude of this place. Like if you see at this image, probably you can see, okay, there is a camel. Okay, there is a building, Old Bengal. Maybe it is in Egypt somewhere. Probably it is a desert area. You can always infer something with your mind. You can see a card, based on that you can infer in which country these cards are found. By looking at the dress, you can definitely note that these people are taking selfie. They are probably foreigners and visitors. So a lot of information we are processing using our brain. Same way, cloudvision.api will also process a lot of information. Considering our time, this is our repetition of activity, but with a different example. So I will not do this. We already did it for donors, but I will definitely walk you through what we will use and we'll find. So in the same bucket, we will create another file called selfie.png. And when we do that, this time, instead of one, it will also, we can also use multiple types, like face detection, landmark detection. You can also do a web detection. So you can put across as many detection that Vision API allows, so that you get result of all of them at the same time. Previously, we did a level detection one time, and then we did a web detection, but we could have done both at the same time. In this example, you have face detection, landmark detection. You can add more detection to it. It's all up to you what result do you want. When Google searches, you can see on the top it has web detection, then you have images, then you have videos. You have all this section available in a normal Google search. And same applies when a Google Lens comes into picture. All right, so we are again making a call, and this is the kind of result you will see. Now, if you see, now if you can see this, right, there's also called emotion detection. When it detects at the face, it can tell you about the emotion, like what is the joy likelihood, what is the sorrow likelihood, what is the anger likelihood, surprise likelihood. Okay, so when we saw the image that we saw previously, none of us posted about how Donald Trump is looking. Is it looking happy? Is it looking sorrow? This is also information one can infer by looking at the image. So Vision API goes to that step beyond a normal human will perceive. It talks about whether the person is happy, not happy, angry. It's a blurred. Is there a headwear? It says very likely. And you did see in that previous image there was a cap. Now, if you go back and see this image again, it did identify there was a gap. It says that it's very unlikely this person is sorrowful, he's happy. These all three people looks to be happy. Now what we are seeing here is will come to you as a result. What is very unlikely and what is very likely? It's very likely he's hearing a headgear, and it's very unlikely that he's sorrowful, angry, joy likelihood possible. It says it's possible, right? So it's kind of detecting the face, and not only face, it's also finding the expression, and it's able to analyze it. So that is the strength of Cloud Vision API. Now there is a landmark annotation. Like if you have this image, can you say where it is? If you put in Google API and say landmark uh, detection like this, it will be able to identify, and it can actually give you results like this. It can give you the coordinates, and it will also give you a description like Boston, probably that is in Boston. I did not knew it. I cannot see an image and tell where it is in the world, but Cloud Vision API can do so. All right. So that was all. We did one example. There were a couple of other examples. One was for landmark detection. So you can play around with this. You can always upload an image and see how it works. And that is how you create a model. Now, what I will do is, this pretty much covers, and this particular lab is not being scored, is not being marked. So whenever you will end the lab, it will actually mark it as success. You always need to give some ratings to it. I'm giving it 4 rating from 5 to back, because you remember at one place you did not find the permission settings where it said. So if you would have done the same way, I will still again remind you, when you go to this permission setting on the bucket here, when you click on this, I did not find it. So the lab is not telling that if you do not find, what you need to do. That's why I have given it 1 less star than usual. Like I have given it 4, earlier it was 5, because I had to go to the actual image, and I was not able to find it. Okay, so probably I have closed the lab, so it will not allow me to access, but that is fine. You know what I'm talking about. So coming back to our session here, we are already at 12, which is kind of end of a session. I will recommend you to further, when you have time, you go ahead and do this. There would be more uh, information coming to you around what all resources we have to share. If you are not on a meetup page, do go and be on the meetup page, so that we share all our resources and you make benefit out of it. Before we close the session, we have a small good surprise for you. We'll do a small little quiz, and we have a prize for that. That could be a Google swag, or it could be some interesting thing, and we will ship it to you. We will do it in another 2 minutes. So allow us 2 minutes to stay with us, and we will run a quiz, and there is a prize for those who are able to win the quiz. So stay tuned. All right, folks. So what you see in your chat message is Menti.com. We are using Menti.com to conduct our quiz. Go there. We will give you some time, and use this passcode that is provided. We have some cool Google swags to send it across. If you are in North America, it will be easier for us to ship. If you are in India, we'll see how we can ship it to you, or we will send you through our partnering vendors. So over to you, Ram. You can take over and you can start with the quiz.
Thank you, Vimal. All right, guys. So for people who can share my screen, I just want to make sure quickly that you guys are all able to see the screen. And I can see already like some of our participants are joining in, which is great. And I'll give 30 more seconds and then we will get started. So all you have to do is go to menti.com, and even if you're using your mobiles, which is fine, you just had to open a browser and enter menti.com, and when it prompts you for the code, just enter 934731. All right. I still see a few people joining us, which is great. Okay. And it's going to be fun, guys, right? All right. So I think we should get started. So before we get started, just want to give you guys a quick updates, right? This particular quiz is purely based on kind of like the fastest fingers, right? So the fast answer you give, you would be on the leaderboard. So all of you guys, as 21 participants at this point, would 22 would just be competing with each other, selecting the right answers. So if you guys give the right answer, you still might be not coming on the leaderboard because somebody was much faster than you guys, right? So answer as fast as you can, but make sure to read the question and choose the most appropriate answer, right? Let's get started. All right. You've been asked to create 100 virtual machines with similar configuration. What is the efficient way? Wow, that's fast. Like I literally see all 22 people have answered already within 5 seconds. That's amazing. Okay. All right. So we have 13 people who have answered it correctly. We have 8 people who have chosen Google Console, and some people, like very few people have chosen both will take same time. Just remember this, right? If you're creating 100 virtual machines, you can definitely do that using Google Console, like using the mouse clicks, but it's not the efficient way, right? You might make a mistake in the configuration. So definitely console is not going to be as efficient as writing a Cloud Shell script and replicating the same virtual machines, and both will not take same time, right? Your Cloud Shell will just parallelly spin all 100 machines at the same time. It will not wait for one virtual machine to spin up and then go to the other one. Whereas when you use the Google Cloud Console, it's going to be one machine at a time, unless you engage multiple users to spin 100 virtual machines, which is definitely not the best way. So that's the catch. Congratulations, guys. And you still have a few more questions. And let's see who is on the leaderboard right now. It's Ritav, congrats, Anu, Paridhi, and guys who are now competing with them, you are pretty close to them, right? You have a few more questions. So you might see you guys coming up on top as well. So let's move to the next question. All right. You have deployed a Windows instance of your own. How will you connect using RDP? Read the question carefully, but choose your answer fast as you can. All right, great. 19 people have got it correct. Only 2 people got it wrong, and 1 person was also wrong, which is fine, right? But you guys are learning here. Okay, so yes, when you create your Windows instance in the Google Cloud Platform, you have an option under the connect, say RDP, and you can set the Windows password username, generate the password, and then use RDP Chrome browser or any other way to connect it. That's great. Awesome, guys, you're doing good. Now let's see who is on the top. Ritav, Anu, Patricia. Congratulations, guys. And you guys can see the names. Oh, okay. Patricia moved towards the number 2. Ellen, number 3. Great. So you guys keep moving as you answer the right one, right? So let's see the next one. Which command is used to check whether the server is ready for an RDP connection? And we did answer this question as part of our quick lab as well. So let's see who gets it first. I don't expect anybody to go wrong here. Okay. So majority of you got it right. So it's G-Cloud Compute Instance get serial port out. That will help you check if your RDP connection is ready or not. All right. One more question. Let's see who is on the leadership board now. Oh, Purna, congrats. Ritao, congratulations, Ritao. All right. Now, I just want to quickly get some feedback from you guys. You guys have been very kind to us and very patient with us. So we also value your feedback. So a word to express your learning experience from us based on the experience that you had yesterday and today. So just type one word on your screen. You might be prompted to enter the words. So please spend few minutes. It shouldn't take hardly like less than 10 seconds for you guys, but definitely your feedback would be very valuable. We deliver more sessions to students for free based on your feedback. That's the motivation factor for us. So I hope it was comprehensive. It was simple. Within the given time, we were able to get some good learning experience on the cloud platform. And we are also planning to do more sessions that will help you guys learn a bit more faster. So let's make sure that we have your feedback. I appreciate all your feedbacks. We have 14 people. Thank you so much, guys. And this is going to really help us move forward with our team to expand the sessions that we do with more students as well. All right. I hope at some point everybody has been able to complete, and I think we are almost there. I really want to thank you guys for your amazing feedback and for being patient with us throughout these 2 weekends. Saturday and Sunday is not all the time that we see students passionate as like you guys coming in, joining hands with us to learn something for 2 hours and then spend the rest of the time with your family, right? Please keep your learning going. You will have amazing learning opportunities. Please make sure that you have joined the GDG Cloud Toronto meetup group. We'll have the meetup group posted once again in the chat, just so that if you guys would like to continue learning from us for free of cost, please do make sure that you guys are joining, and we'll be happy to educate you guys more as much as we could, right? Have a wonderful day, guys. Thank you, and over to you, Vimal. Vimal, last words from you.
All right, thanks, Ram. It was pleasure hosting you guys, and hope you had a little bit of learning. But the idea was not to give you a sense of completeness. From here, you can take it forward, and there's a lot of things we have in place. You can reach out to Neural Hacks if you want them to organize in such event. Thanks, Neural Hacks, for connecting with us. Hopefully, that we will be conducting such a session in future as well. Will bring some value in students who keep on struggling to learn new things all the time. Thanks a lot for being with us. It was a real pleasure to speaking to you all. Have a great day ahead. Participate in other events from Neural Hacks. Thank you so much. And I will be posting the different medium with which you can connect to us. And back to your Neural Hacks. You can take it over.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys for this workshop. It's pretty amazing. I also learned a lot, and yeah, I bet this was a great learning experience for everyone as well. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in future workshops as well. All right, bye.